Let's play a little game. I play you a few seconds from a well-known tune, and you have to say what is wrong with it. Okay, it was easy. There was a wrong chord. Do you ever find yourself struggling to get the right chords or getting the melody to fit in exactly with your chords? If that sounds familiar, this video is for you. Hello everyone, my name is Noam. When I was younger, I studied painting. And one of the main reasons that I ultimately decided to pursue music is that every time I would draw a painting, I would have this painting looking at me and saying, you got that off. That isn't great. That isn't such a great painting, is it? You're probably not a great painter. Music, for me, on the other hand, was much more forgiving. If I made a mistake and played a wrong note, some good notes would come after it and let me feel good about myself again. As someone with a strong inner critic, this really spoke to me. Okay, why am I telling you all of this? I think that this fleeting quality of music can be against us when we come to write music. Let's go back to the painting example again. Imagine you've painted something and there are some mistakes. You got the wrong color somewhere, or maybe something got smeared, or something you tried drawing just came out totally unintelligible. Chances are this drawing, as I said, is looking at you and begging to get it fixed. So you'd go ahead and fix the mistakes. In music, on the other hand, you might write something with a little mistake and you'd hear that mistake. It would sound a little off for a second, but right afterwards, everything would sound fine. And you'd say, in general, this music sounds fine. I don't need to fix it. Now, there are two problems with this, in my opinion. One is that your music stays mediocre. Top-notch composers never leave blatant mistakes in their music. They just don't. The second problem is that we get used to hearing these mistakes, and that dulls our sensitivity and gives us bad habits. Okay, so what do I suggest doing? Two things. One, make sure you understand the relationship between harmony and melody, because this is where the mistakes are the most obvious, in my opinion. And two, get into the habit of applying these insights when you write music with no excuses. Okay, so for the rest of this video, I want to give a brief overview of harmony and melody relationship. This is a broad topic, but I'll try to give you a few principles that can make actually a big difference if you apply them. And I'm also hoping that this will increase your appetite to delve deeper into theory of music, which will help you even more. Okay, so let's delve into the theory for a moment. I'll promise to try to keep it short. Let's say our chord progression is D minor, then E flat major, then C major, then A major. Okay, let's enter that into Cubase. Okay, now that I have a chord progression, I want to add a melody above it. The melody has to tell a little story because that's what melodies do. But this story needs to follow 3 rules in order to sound good. The first rule is it has to go through certain checkpoints. What I call checkpoints are the prominent beats in the rhythm. If our rhythm is 4/4, like here, 1, 2, 3, 4, our prominent beats are, first of all, beat 1 and also beat 3. So when the melody hits the first note in the bar, where also a new chord is introduced many times, and also in this example, it should fit with the chord. The easiest way to fit with the chord is just to play one of the notes of the chord. Okay, for example here, basically what I did was take the top notes that we can actually see here, and every time a new chord was introduced, which was also incidentally on a strong beat, I had the melody hit that note. I could use any one of the chord notes. This is just what came up now when I improvised. The second rule that our melodic story needs to go by is that even between the checkpoints, it has to stay on the path, so to say, which means in music, to stay in our musical scale. In our example, we are in D minor. D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C. So that's basically our pool of notes that we can use for our melody. If my melody doesn't go by this rule and plays notes that are outside of the scale, it might sound kind of weird. I'll demonstrate this by playing one melody in the right scale and one with lots of notes that are outside of the scale. Versus I don't have to add anything to that, do I? The third rule that our melodic story has to go by is even if it's going through the correct checkpoints, which means landing on chord tones when a new chord is introduced or there's a strong beat, and it's going on the right path, which means staying within the right scale, there are still places that are better avoided and not emphasized. There are notes that just sound a little off over certain chords, even though they are part of the scale. These notes are called avoid notes. So there are all kinds of avoid notes. I will talk about one kind of avoid note, which is a note that is a half step above one of the chord tones. Now, the reason it sounds so bad is because we don't actually get an interval of a half step or half tone. We get a octave plus half step, which is also called a minor ninth. This or this. It's quite dissonant. So if we take, for instance, C major, C, E, G, it would be F, which is a half step about of the E. A simple way to remember at least part of these avoid notes is to avoid the fourth tone on top of a major chord. Okay, say I have C major, C, D, E, F. Don't play the F on the C major chord. And in minor, don't play the sixth tone. If I have D minor, D, E, F, G, A, don't play that B flat on top of the D minor because it is an avoid note. Now I said don't play, but I don't really mean don't play. The avoid notes are not to be totally avoided. They can and should be used as part of your melody, but not emphasized. What do I mean by emphasizing? Three things. One, landing on a strong beat with this note. Two, sustaining this note for a long time, which emphasizes it. And three, jumping off this note. If my melody is going like in a stepwise motion, say, this is a mostly stepwise motion. And then it's jumping. Okay, we jumped from A to E. That act of jumping emphasizes the note that we just jumped from. So that is also something you should not do with an avoid note. Now, as I said before, this is a broad topic. I'm just scratching the surface here. And there are also lots of exceptions to the rules that I just gave here. But it's a great starting point. So what I would advise you is in your next composition, try to pay a lot of attention to the relationship between your chords and your melody, and don't let any little off moment slip by without fixing it. You might actually find out that it has to do with one of the things we spoke about in this video. So good luck, go write some music, and if you got any questions or comments, leave them below. I read everyone and we can all learn from each other that way. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, this is a great time to do so. It will help me a lot and allow me to create more content just like this. Until next time, goodbye.